Hi, I'm Cade.
And I'm Kit.
And we're real people.
Doing real reviews.
And today,
Da-da-da-da.
we are reviewing
Longlegs.
the #1 film from 2024.
And the last of our list. And with much anticipation, mixed reviews online.
Yeah?
So that was, curious. We had heard amazing things from the genre community about this film. Main villain played by Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
I think C2 was the financing producing group out of it. And I think there was like 5 other tertiary that we saw kind of branch up. Yeah, and we we were ready. We decided to watch this one with friends. We were gonna share it. And so we got the popcorn out and we sat down and we were like, okay, the scariest, the horror movie of 2024. Here we go. Beat out substance, beat out in a violent nature. We are buckled up. We're ready.
We watched it at night.
We did. We were like, okay, it was raining. We were like, we lit candles.
We were ready.
We were so ready. And then, do you want to tell them a little synopsis of the...
For sure. So the movie takes place in the 1990s. Lee Harker is a FBI agent getting put on a serial killer case. That was pretty stagnant up until she gets put on the case, and then all of a sudden leads start coming in, and she has this unique ability to see, feel things.
Have some intuition.
Yeah.
And places that would be it would be like 16 of the same white house with yellow trim, and she'd be like, it's that way. It's for flower.
Right.
And she would be right. I mean, and but it would freak her out. She'd be like, I don't know why I know that, but I know it's that. Yeah.
So she obviously has this gift, very gifted, and gets put on this case, and then slowly figures out kind of the serial killer, puts together the way in which he is killing, and then oddly enough, she realizes that she's
linked
to said killer
through a childhood memory. And then that's verified through a few conversations with her mom, and they do some flashbacks of her in the 70s, like in her little striped turtleneck, just really great wardrobe, this little girl.
Yeah.
And that the mom had a conversation with this very bizarre man, and she was like, is this that person? Like, what is this? And so she starts to realize the algorithm and the lettering system and the symbolism behind everything. And I thought it was so interesting because when she gift this house, it's in the opening sequence, and where she's like, I think it's that house. And she's like, I feel like we should call for backup. And her partner's like, not on our first day. We're going to be great. Knocks on the door and he's like, hey, man, dead. And he's like, yeah, I knew that. That's not good. So then anyways, catches this poor son. And the FBI does a series of tests on her to see where her intuition was. So they actually really believe her intuition because they're like, you keep verifying it based on this very bizarre test that we put people through to see if people can guess like numbers and events and based on kind of abstract shapes. And she does well. And so I liked that because a lot of times when people have some type of clairvoyancy, it's not believed. And so with this one, they were like, well, based on the science and what we just figured out, she has a little bit of a gift, and we're going to listen to that because that's really interesting to us. And that might help us with this very cold case. And then it starts to. So.
Well, I was going to say, then it starts to kind of get weird.
Gets a little weird.
It's a little weird because they basically find out through like the series of cards that the killer leaves that like X marks the spot, and there's this repeat of this farm, and they go out and they find a doll, like almost a life-size doll, kind of buried. So they uncover that weird kind of scene. The autopsy guy?
Yeah. Autopsy.
Alrighty.
Yep. You think you're mixing abnormal and autopsy together? And that's why. Because it was a very bizarre gentleman doing an autopsy of the doll because they were like, why is this doll buried? And why is this a whole clue? And the guy doing it is like, oh,
It's weird.
the craftsmanship of this doll,
Yeah.
it's just immaculate. And look, there's this,
Porcelain hands.
oh my, and then there's this silver ball, and we're calling it the brain. And there's nothing inside it, but feel the frequency of this ball. And you're like, what's that guy? Is that guy okay?
Yeah.
But in-
What did we just watch?
That's just sniffing some 90s autopsy chemicals down there. That's what's going on. And so we were like, okay, so that's a good doll maker, but also strange. Okay.
Strange. And then throughout the whole thing, we find that the killer
Mm-hmm.
seems to be killing these families.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not, like, there's no evidence of him actually being there.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the weapon of choice is always something from the house. It appears that the father's killed everybody and then kills himself.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, how's it connected? How is it connected?
Yeah.
And that's where it starts to kind of unravel once we find the doll. The FBI agent, she's like, someone is helping him.
Yeah.
He's not doing it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then she talks to her mom again, and kind of a weird interaction in the house.
Yeah. The mom is a hoarder. So there's some obvious mental health that's happening within the home. And very obvious that this girl has grown up with this mom being this way because she had a lot of patience with her mom. And it's like, okay, mom, you know. And she had also, as an FBI agent, kind of figured out that, like, hey, within kind of 6 days front and back of these murders is the daughter of each of these families' birthday. And which is kind of part of the algorithm. And then she was like, wait, when I met that weird man, when that was close to my birthday.
Yeah.
Mom, do you remember anything about that? And the mom's like, yes. And you're like, what? It's weird. And then, yeah, okay, continue from there.
Well, I was gonna say, then oddly enough, it kind of pans back and forth in between the killer and the FBI agent, and back and forth, and you don't really know where he is in comparison to
Her.
her
Mm-hmm.
in these scenes. But while she's at the house, she tries to open, like, the door to the basement, and it is locked.
And now this is a hoarder's house, right? Like, and they spared no detail in that. Like, there is some bizarre stacked stuff on every bed, surface, table. Like,
I did notice that too. I thought the set dressing of that scene, I was like, oh, that's a lot of stuff.
unbelievable that this would be a hoarder's, like, thought process on how they would stash things and do things. Yeah, just very, yeah, just well,
very, very well believable.
yeah, they did a good job kind of being like, how does a hoarder think and how would they do things? Anyways, so give kudos to the set dresser on those, but can't imagine cleaning those sets up after. It's a lot. Back to the thrift store. That's
For
what.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, so it's locked, and then we're like, oh well, you know, she grew up in that house. Like, you know, is there anything to that? And she's kind of like looking at the keys. Anyways, kind of strange. Um, then the FBI chief is like, you know, this was a cold case, and now we're getting all of these clues, all these things are coming together because you've came on. Like, I have to think that there's some type of connection. Like, do you think there's a connection? And she's like, well, and they're like, maybe just ask your mom about your birthday. Your birthday's around the same date of these other girls. Like, maybe she was like, okay. So then when she's back at the house, same kind of sequence, she's going through a box of her things, notices all these Polaroids, brings them back to her current home. She's not staying in her parents', like her mom's home, and pulls out all of his Polaroids. There was a photo of the serial killer, Longlegs, and she so distinctly remembers it, shoots back, is like, oh my gosh, brings it to the chief. This is the killer. They find him. How did I find him? I can't remember.
He was just at a bus stop.
Oh yeah, he was at a bus. He was going to get out of there. And
So then they take him in, and in the interview with him, he's singing the FBI agent "Happy Birthday," and it's a very, like, creepy kind of scene. And they click the tape off because the whole team's watching it, and then
they're like, ugh.
how long did that go on for? And this other agent, she's like, oh, it went on for like 28 minutes. And, you know, everyone's like slows down, kind of stops they say everybody out except kind of the main characters, and they finally decide, hey, we need to bring your mom in
Yeah.
to ask her some more questions about him and what happened that day, because she did call the police, and that sort of thing. And then the Lee Harper, the FBI agent, goes in to talk to the serial killer, and he's very excited and happy to see her.
It is
And
all about her, like, life growing up and how old she was when she started with the agency and, like, when she started going after law enforcement, and you're like, "How do you know everything about this woman?" Like,
yeah,
especially because the woman, like, this main character, so well acted, is a very withdrawn,
very odd.
very yeah, kind of, very extreme introvert, and kind of maybe because of her clairvoyancy, maybe because of the way she grew up, just very to herself, kind of a strange demeanor. And so not somebody where you would like publicly find out all kinds of information about this woman. Like she's not out there talking about what she's doing, she's
Right.
doing the things. And so yeah, so he's excited to see her, and then what?
And then he basically tells her that he's going to like live on forever. And then, of course, then he kills himself and a very gruesome scene. He slams his face into the table over and over and over again until he's gone. And she's the only one in the room, and like there's a blood splatter, and then everyone rushes in, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, we had him. Now you ruined it." And then they're like, "Now we really need to see your mom." And one of the agents drives her back to her mom's house, and it's like, "After everything you've been through today, couldn't let you go alone. Um, do you want me to go inside with you?" And Lee Harper says, "No, I'll go in alone. I'll tell my mom, come out, and we'll go to the station." And so Lee Harper gets out of the car, goes inside, and while she's inside, her mom has a shotgun and shoots the other agent.
In the car. And Lee sees it and is like, what? And so and her going into the house alone, you're like, well, her mom's a very, lives in this hoarder's house. This is because she's new. Yeah, she's new. She's like, now my mom's involved in some way. Like, yes, of course, we'll talk to her, but like, we'll bring her out. Like, I don't want, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Perspective. Then she like looks out, and the mom used to she would talk about how like nobody comes to visit us, like we are just the two of us, like that's it. So when it came to visit her, she was very strange anyway. So you're like, okay, well, this person going through mental health issues shoots this stranger that's sitting there, didn't ask any questions, but kind of there's mental health. So you're like, okay, well, again, you don't know if it's tied to anything long legs. You're just like, well, she's just a little bit strange. And so Lee comes out and then notices that there's a doll
Yeah.
and her mom, and the mom's gonna shoot this doll in the backyard. And Lee's like, "You don't have to shoot that doll." And then the mom's like, "Well,"
I have to set you free. And so she shoots the doll, and then like this black smoke kind of comes out of the doll, and Lee Harper falls to the ground and kind of faints. She's
overwhelmed.
like the spell kind of esque kind of is broken per
Mhm.
se on her, and then
She wakes up in the bed that we had seen Longlegs in his home, and we're like, "Oh my god, she's in the Longlegs. She's in danger."
like she's been kidnapped or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turns out,
Yeah, it turns out
basement of her house.
the basement of her home. Yeah. And so then she kind of stumbles and wakes up and comes out. And then she realizes that her police chief's daughter has a birthday party. And she realizes that that's the next victim. And so she's running over to his place. And that is where her mom is.
Sitting in a nun outfit with a doll in a box. Everything is explained that the mom has been involved this entire time on the Longlegs had a satanic ritual where he would put a piece of himself in these dolls, and then through whatever the mechanism was that these dolls would convince those families to murder, well, the dad to murder the family and then murder themselves through the evil of whatever this was in this doll. And then it was the mom's job to wait until that was all finished, pack the doll up, leave, and that was her whole role. And if she did that, then Longlegs would not kill her daughter. That was this FBI agent. So you're like, okay. But then the mom is like sitting there, Longlegs is dead. She's like, hey, mom, you don't have to let this happen with this family. Longlegs is dead. Like, you can. And mom's like, no, I got to keep going. I got to keep carrying this forward. So then Lee ends up having to shoot her mom.
Yeah.
Shoot the chief in the shoulders. I'm not sure if she killed him dead, but she like shoots him in the shoulders. Is like takes the daughter and is like, we're gonna get out of here. And everyone's being it's very almost like a hypnotic state with like the doll being there. The way they're acting and behaving is very like as somebody who's hypnotized and kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah, that's the end of the movie. So, with that,
well, here's the thing.
Where do we go from
The
there?
first thing that I would say is that the movie is some great, wonderful, yes, very graphic gore scenes. Some of that is very much there. There's definitely horror a part of this. Great villain, well played by Nicolas Cage. Very bizarre doll maker that is
Almost like a doll-esque face. Like,
yes, becomes more and more plastic surgery type, expressions with makeup and powdered makeup on top of,
he kind of looked like the doll from that rides the tricycle and those old
Saw.
yeah.
I got from the Saw movie. Yeah.
Like the face of the doll
Mm-hmm.
is kind of what he looked like with his prosthetics.
But more pastel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely. And he really beautiful white straight teeth, and then also but like falling apart and caked on makeup. Just very strange, but very creepy.
Very creepy.
The film is creepy. So for the whole time you're very like interested, and because of how they had set the timeline of it being like 70s, 80s, 90s, she's using payphones. There's not cell phones. She's in rural what is it? Oregon.
Yeah.
It's rainy. Like people live spread apart. Like the FBI having basically like rain jackets with FBI put on it with like a stencil. Like it's just very believable of like a small town going through a very strange mystery. The mystery being wrapped around like satanic ritual, or that there's one disturbed individual that partnered with somebody with mental health issues. Also kind of believable. It's quite creepy. And when we were looking up things online, people were like, was that was that based on any type of real story? And it was like, no,
it's not.
It was.
Spoiler.
Yes, it's not. Where it lost us was the doll explanation along the way. It got moved around a bit. And so when we're discovering, so the evil's within these dolls, the dolls are brought in, and this is kind of what's happening. As it was kind of like being moved through, we were like, why is there a continuation? Why are we seeing them? What happens when they get back to the house? So there's just a lot of question marks on how they used them that could have been done better. So for instance, when they uncover this buried doll, there was this girl in this mental like hospital who had been like kind of comatose, catatonic, just kind of out of it. And then when they find the doll, she's like awake and bright and saying very evil, bizarre things. And the FBI agent's like, what is going on with you? Like, this is strange. So you're like, oh, okay. So, and if I were to give an alternative ending, when they found that doll, there was like a triangle pointed up, which is part of this like algorithm of how he uses symbols. So I thought, it'd be so interesting if when they found her doll, because she was like the girl that got away, the girl that got to live, if there was like her doll with like a triangle upside down, they kill that doll. That was the end of the evil. Would have made more sense, but the fact that they were like, and we're also gonna do one more doll, we were like, why? And then it was because the mom is under the satanic spell. Kid got it, but like now we're in this weird scenario, and like, so is it because of her? It's now Lee part of it. Like, is it part of her? Like, there was just a lot of question marks, and we were like, why are we here? Also, it's supposed to be a birthday party, and it was just like the mom and the dad and the daughter and like a nun and a doll. And I'm like, what birthday? And I'm talking fully decorated house birthday party, no guests coming, going before or after. Just kind of strange, which we're like, is that because they're hypnotized by the doll? Or is the nun earlier? I just thought it was weird.
The storyline towards the end kind of gets a bit farce. It's like they did a great job in the beginning, kind of telling the story and doing some build up. But you could definitely tell they were running out of time to really
Complete.
the end of the story associated to that. I think uh the way that they filmed it, quite pretty. It's a very like visually a very cool, creepy, like edge of your seat kind of
It affects your
shot.
senses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kept thinking about like, because everything was like damp and cluttered and old, I was like thinking about how it would, like smell and have be mildewy and like it really did affect our physical body, like watching it. But I agree with you, the storyline lost its way at the end. Yeah.
As well as like there's a lot of like things that are kind of unexplained with that, as well as then obviously you realize that all of these people let her mom into their home because she said she was with the church, and they won a gift from the church, which was these dolls. Which was clever. I mean, that was a clever kind of serial killer kind of way, and then she packed it up and left. But yeah, certainly got kind of odd towards the end, and then just ends.
And then ends and we're like, okay, so we'll just accept that information, I guess.
Yeah.
And I get it sometimes with genre, if they're just trying to be like, we'll leave it open-ended, that's scarier. It was not scarier to do it with this movie. We were like, well, the creepy person's dead. We watched him smash his face against the thing.
Well, and then she killed her mom.
And then
So
Mike,
there was everyone all the bad people died.
the end.
Yeah. No.
Well, Cade, what do you think? Where are we gonna rate her?
Well, I think for me, story made sense enough. I definitely was on the edge of my seat during it.
Suspense.
I'll give it a 7.
You know, 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm probably 7.5.
Okay.
Love a good villain, creative villain. Thought that was really great. Loved enough was explained in ritual and what she was following and where she had some clairvoyancy that was interesting, but didn't go too far with that. But that was good, clever. There was scenes along the way where like it looks like he breaks into her cabin that she lives in and gives her these clues, and she never says anything to the chief or says these other things, which was kind of
forgot about that. Yeah, that was an odd
and we were like,
scene.
and I was like, is that
Kind of scary too.
yeah, and like, is that a dream sequence? And she talks to her mom often, and we're like, is that a feel her mom? Like, so I liked the areas that you're like, okay, like there's something where she knows she's tied to this, but she doesn't know how or why, and that it's floating around her, so she's gonna go discover it. She's a good person, good heart. But there's something kind of
Lingering.
in the shadows that she's aware of. And so yeah, happy for her that she breaks free from that in the end, although it's still not done in a clear way. Probably would have gotten higher from me should that have ended in a clearer sense, because I did think it was quite creepy. I liked the bloom on it. Like I definitely felt like like it was interesting, more interesting than like some of the other serial killer films that we've seen, and some of those are based on true, and so I thought it was like like scary and creepy enough, and really great acting. So 7.5 for me.
Okay. Yeah, I think thinking about it too, it obviously was broken up into 3 parts.
Yeah.
Part 1 was good, part 2 was good, part 3
Loose.
needed some help.
Yeah, it's just it was too loose. It wasn't tight enough to let yourself kind of go there. And so I don't like when that happens. I get so that happened with that other film that we watched during Cuff, and I was like, why did they do that?
Yeah.
But not my movie, just a movie reviewer. So 7.5.
Okay.
Absolutely would recommend people to watch it, because I do think that it would creep out and scare people. And I have to remember, Kate and I watch scary movies quite regularly, and we were like, it was tense. Like we were filled with suspense. We didn't know what was going to happen. It was yucky in moments. There was good practical effects. There was some good areas. It wasn't a jump scare or horror in that way. It didn't show torture in the way that you would expect. So, yeah, I just thought they did a clever job of making it that this person exists was creepy enough. And
As well as the use of or not use of tech. I
Mhm.
think it'll be around for a bit.
Yeah, it hasn't, and I think that's so smart. And I've said that before, but like, yeah, when they choose to do 90s and earlier, I'm like, oh, you have no idea. It becomes a classic because you're not seeing people's flip phones, you're not seeing their laptops, not seeing their,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
she's
areas.
using a payphone in one of the scenes, so
Yeah,
yeah.
it's good. Yeah,
Awesome.
and yeah, great visuals, great use of like visual language. Often the camera is shot from what would have been the height of a child. Interesting take. We noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right off from, like, the beginning, which was kinda cool.
Yeah, we were like, "What's that about?" And, it does, it makes you feel
Yeah.
pretty dope. Yeah. Okay, well, 7.5 for me, 7 for you.
Yeah,
Well, I'm Kit,
and I'm Cade,
and we're real people.
doing real reviews.
See you next time.
Bye, guys.